it's the Trinity Nicole, and welcome back for yet another video. So I've noticed a significant pattern in the scriptures. There are several notable women who struggled with conceiving. You have Sarah, you have Rachel, Rebecca, Hannah, Samson's mother, Elizabeth. Each of these women deeply desired children, and some of them, it's even recorded that they were taunted for their inability to conceive. And we know that it was God who withheld children from them for a time, not because he didn't want them to have them, but because he was divinely orchestrating things and events and people that went beyond the women's desires. But God is faithful, and despite the years that passed, eventually he allowed every single one of these barren women to conceive sons. And the sons that they conceived weren't average everyday men, but they were extraordinary men who are forever marked in history as individuals who fulfilled remarkable purposes for God. For example, Sarah's son Isaac was the second patriarch of Israel, the one God confirmed his covenant to Abraham through. Rebecca's son Jacob was one of the founding fathers of Israel and became the head of the 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph became governor of Egypt, and his wisdom saved the land from famine. Samuel was the final judge of Israel and the first prophet of Israel's new monarchy, and John the Baptist paved the way for Christ's coming. Each of these women had to endure long periods of waiting before God finally blessed them with their heart's desires, and when he finally did, it far exceeded their expectations. But not only that, during the waiting, a lot of these women were forced to watch other women in close proximity to them bear children. For example, Sarah's slave Hagar conceived immediately when she gave Hagar to Abraham to be his second wife. Rachel's sister Leah had 6 sons before she had even had one. And Elkanah's other wife, Peninnah, she bore sons and daughters. So these women were forced to watch the people around them being blessed with the very thing that they were entreating God for. Can y'all imagine how painful that must have been? Hagar looked at Sarah with disgust because she couldn't conceive. Every year when Hannah went to go sacrifice at the temple, her husband's second wife, Peninnah, would torment her because she couldn't have any children. But when God finally looked upon their affliction and blessed them with what they longed for, it was so much more than what they had prayed for. And not only that, it was more than what everyone else around them had. They had surpassed their peers by light years. We don't talk about Ishmael, but we talk about Isaac. Peninnah's other sons are only mentioned once in the scriptures, but we know about Samuel. And although Leah bore the son Judah, by which the lineage of our high priest Jesus Christ was established, we don't hear stories about him, and we definitely don't hear a lot of stories about her other sons. But when we hear the name of Joseph, we are immediately reminded of the brother who was betrayed, who was enslaved, who was imprisoned, but eventually went on to become governor of Egypt and save that land from the famine. It's also important to note that God had purposes for these sons beyond what the women desired. Their waiting and their pain and their affliction wasn't in vain, because there was a higher calling attached to their blessing. It wasn't even about them, but God had purposes and plans that they couldn't have even fathomed. Many of you have probably found yourselves in these testimonies. You've been begging God for a child for months, and you've been forced to watch people around you who don't even want children or who wouldn't even be suitable parents being blessed with children left and right. You've been praying for a job for months. You know you have the qualifications, you know you have the experience, but yet and still you're seeing people around you being blessed with the kinds of jobs that you know that you yourself want. You've been praying for marriage for years. You've been waiting, you've been seeking God, you've been acknowledging him in all your ways, you've been doing things his way, and yet and still you see people who probably haven't prayed one prayer about marriage getting married all around you every 5 minutes. You may even have people in your corner who are taunting you and making fun of you for these things. And you may even have friends around you, like Job's friends, who are blaming you for your affliction. It's painful, it hurts, and it's so easy to believe that God has forgotten about you, that he's somehow unjust or unfaithful, or that he doesn't see your afflictions, your fastings, your prayers, your faithfulness to him. But it's entirely possible that this waiting is about to birth something that you can't even imagine. And it's also possible that this waiting has nothing to do with you, but it has to do with the higher callings and purposes of God. For example, you've been praying for a child, but God has maybe intended for that child to be president or to do something really incredible for a specific time period. So therefore, that child can't come right now. You've been praying for a job, and God has already knows the job that he wants you to have, but there's a person on that job that he wants you to minister to who maybe hasn't even been hired yet. You've been praying for marriage, for relationships, but God is preparing the person, the kind of spouse that you've been praying for. He's preparing that person to be everything that you prayed for. So you guys can't meet right now. So these things can't manifest right now because God is literally preparing to do the very thing that you have been praying for. And the people around you who are getting the things that you've been praying for, watch when God finally blesses you with your heart's desires. You'll look around at all of those people and you'll realize the thing that I have, it doesn't even compare to what these other people have. So hold on, don't take things into your own hands and let God do what he does best.